today is a wonderful Monday. It is November 5th, just about a little over 3 or 4 days since the launch of OEP. I hope everybody's out there just killing it and burning it, and which is why I wanted to start out with a quote that I'd actually used about 2 months ago, and just to always kind of keep in the back of your mind that, if you're not taking care of your customer, your competitor will. So there's always a lot of individuals out there these days ready and willing to pick up the phone if you're not available. But I know that everybody is just working their butts off right now, and the stats actually show that, and we'll go into that a little bit more in the next couple slides here. But you guys are doing an amazing job. This OEP, the dollar amounts and the sales that I'm seeing are just tremendous. So I just even before we get into those trends, I wanted to just give everybody a real good round of applause. You guys are doing some amazing work. However, if you are new this week and this is your first Motivation Monday, or it is your 500th Motivation Monday, I welcome you. Again, my name is Robert Freeman. I am the training specialist here with NatGen. Right now, during at least in the AEP and OEP seasons, I focus really heavily on the Medicare world. However, I am training all over the board, and as you can see, I'm also here with all of you fine folks this wonderful Monday morning. So if you are new, what we're going to do real quick here is we're going to go over a tip of the week. We're going to really dive into some of those trends that I was talking about, as well as give some really good shout outs to our sales leaders. And then we're going to jump into a quick sales technique for everybody so that everybody can stay sane during the OEP season here. I'm going to kind of piggyback a little off of what Dan was doing last week in regards to he really focused heavily on the OEP aspect of really being successful and getting out there and really 10 real good tips that you can utilize to not only be successful during OEP, but just be successful year round as a sales agent is concerned anyhow. With that said, last week, Dan's tip of the week, he went over the IHC group's bonus. It was $50 per policy. So there's a couple different products that were eligible on that. They have a metal gap 2, then there's a fusion, which is kind of a hybrid of a short-term medical, including hospital, surgical, and critical illness fixed benefit bundle. A really interesting plan. I was doing some background research on it. It actually is it's quite an interesting combination that they have going on there. So a really good bonus for $50 per issued policy on this one. And that one was from October 1st. So just over a month ago that this one started, up all the way through the end of 2018, December 31st. Now, with that said, a couple real quick tips for this week. One of the things I wanted to focus on, especially because I'm in my Medicare world here, just wanted to remind everybody that there is a fast cash bonus sprint out there for the monthly sprint with the Medicare subs on the NatGen side. That one actually started on October 1st, 2018 through March 31st of 2019. So that actually goes all the way through the end of the general enrollment period on the Medicare side as well too. The way that one broke down is that if you sold anywhere from 3 to 9 Medicare supplement policies for the month, you get $100 per policy, and then 10 to 20, $125, and anything over 20 is $150 per policy. So that's actually a really good opportunity to get some fast cash with that monthly sprint on the Medicare supplement side. Now, on the other side of things, if you wanted to, you actually have, you can sell 100 NatGen Medicare sup policies. They're actually going to send you to Cabo. So this is just something that, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm very jealous of whoever is going to win this wonderful trip, but this is going to be something that is really, really obtainable in regards to getting those 100 NatGen set policies out there. So this one, again, is just like the others. It rolled out on October 1st, and it's going to go all the way through the end of December 31st of 2019. Now, in this aspect, the nice thing about it, though, is that if you sell 150, they're actually going to send you and a guest, which is just amazing. Just even the 100 by yourself is amazing to sit there in wonderful Cabo, and those beaches out there are just extraordinarily. I mean, that would be one place that if it was on a bucket list that I could go, I would certainly go. Well, the other thing to remember there is if you're the top selling writing agent overall, they're going to actually send you and a guest, plus upgrade you to a private suite, so you don't have to share with a neighbor that you don't know. Just kidding. They wouldn't do that anyway. But you're going to get an entire private suite for you and your guest, which is just an amazing opportunity. So again, 100, you're going to be going to Cabo. 150, you get to bring your spouse, significant other, a random person that you meet on the side of the street, anybody that you want to. And then, of course, if you're the top selling agent, they're going to upgrade you into that wonderful person to a nice private suite. So with that said, Let's move on to those trends and see where everybody's standing. Now, we don't really touch on the Medicare sup policies as far as the sales, which I'm actually going to look into maybe including some of those since it is AEP season right now. But with that said, we're going to jump into some of the initial sales trends here regard on the short-term side and the fixed benefit side. Now, being the fact that it is open enrollment right now, we're about 5 days or so in, well, 3, 4, 6 days technically in, I guess, I suppose. The short-term med side and the fixed benefit side, there were some slight decreases, which is really kind of to be expected. Right now we're really focused heavily on getting those primary insurance policies, but where we're actually looking at where the sales are going to be jumping up is in my next category here, and the supplement side. Now, this is totally to be expected here. We have increases across the entire board. We got an NHIC holding strong on the accident side. We actually almost had a 100% increase in the sales from last week on the accident side. So I think last week we had a total of around 35,000 total on the accident. This week, almost 53,000. So that's some really, really good numbers that I'm seeing up there. Even on the critical illness side, last week we only had about $4,000 worth, and this week it was close to 7 or 8,000. So a really good increase on that with NHIC and Assurant still holding strong on the top spots there. And dental, a really big increase as well too. Last week, we only had about 6 policies sold. This week we almost over doubled that. We had about 12, 13 policies, and we actually totally demolished last week's numbers on the dental side. So great job everybody on getting those supplements out there. You're remembering to bundling, you're remembering to make sure to add in those sub policies. So that's really good stuff. This time of the season is a really good opportunity to really just bundle everything in regards to those CIs. Always dental, you always want to get those in there. So great work everybody, and always remember bundling, of course. And then the numbers are actually showing that. So that great job. Now, specifically speaking, on the limited benefit side, we had Kent Kirkwood with the first spot. Great job, Kent. I've actually watched your numbers go up from 3rd place to 2nd place to 1st place over the last few weeks. So you are just out there and killing it and kicking it. And we had Nicole in 2nd and Day in 3rd. So great job, everybody. Even like Katya and Andrew and everybody, you're still right there up on the board. So great work to all of you out there getting on the limited benefit side. Now, short-term med side, we have Jacob in 1st place this week, Katya in 2nd, and Susan in 3rd. From last week, we had Richard, Katya, and Robert. You guys are just out there doing some really good work. So a really nice round of applause to everybody out there. You are getting some really good numbers in. Again, especially on the supplement side, we're going to see if we can get some different numbers up next week too, and then really kind of show that given the fact that we're in the AEP and the OEP seasons. Now, speaking of the OEP season, what Dan actually went over last week is he actually went over 10 tips to really have an effective and an amazing OEP. What he did is he really kind of went down a list of, beginning with just making sure that you set and preset those appointments. You're remembering that, shoppers are going to start early and they're going to be the first ones to call. So you don't really want to look at giving out quotes necessarily. You want to let them know that you're here to help and that you're free to use, but it is possible that those earliers are going to be starting to shop early, but just make sure that you're setting those boundaries. Make sure that you let them know that you are busy. It is the busiest time of the year. You don't really want to be playing that cat and mouse game and then picking up the phone and calling 10 or 15 times. However, with that aspect, if you set those clear boundaries and at the same time you're showing them the benefits of what you can do for them and the policies that are out there, it's really going to help you have an effective OEP. Yeah, he even talked about as far as social media, making sure that you don't, cut any corners, always making sure that your follow-up is really super consistent. Number 7 there, cleaning up your supplement cells. Everybody is actually doing some really good on the supplement side. So that's some really good work on that. When you want to make sure all those attestations are done, and your clients even need to keep up, with the healthcare.gov and, in case in that aspect. Don't forget about those prescriptions, the bronze and silver plans. They may not have the best coverage, so you always want to look at possibly adding some additional prescription coverage to fill those gaps if those plans aren't covering what they need to cover. He even talked about even using a self-appointment system, in regards to allowing clients to book, an appointment with you, or even book a callback. He threw out some really good apps that were out there like simplebook.net and Booker, and some free ones that are out there for you. And last but not least, last week you really talked about relaxing and just making sure that you take a breath and stepping back and making sure that you just kind of breathe because everything is going to be okay. Now, on that same note, what I wanted to do is I really wanted to help you look at making sure that you do stay healthy during these next 3 months, because I'll be honest with you, this is a time where I see a lot of agents sick. They're fighting colds, they're fighting exhaustion, and they just aren't on top of it because they're dealing with a cold or a health issue. Now, granted, health issues, they come and go. You don't really have full control over that person that's on the commuter train next to you just coughing all over everybody, or in that aspect. But at the same time, though, you can really take a few, and I actually have 4 things that you can do here. You can take about 3 or 4 steps to really make sure that you're nurturing your basic health. One of those main things is making sure that you're eating and sleeping and exercising regularly. So on that effect, I was looking into some statistics here on the Mayo Clinic, for example. They have some really, really good guidelines for maintaining your entire body's energy levels. And I'll be honest with you, I'm always trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to take my vitamins and make sure that those energy levels are at the top of your game so that you can really be on the top of your game in all aspects. What they really kind of focus on a lot there, besides the eating and the sleeping and the exercising, they always want to make sure that you're kind of moving, and that they talk about making sure that you try and look at about 30 minutes of exercise per day, if that's possible, of course. I know with me, we are in a 3-story building here, so I am walking up and down those stairs instead of the elevator as the alternative. So that's something that you can look at. Once those essentials are taken care of, you can really dive deeper into understanding your own personal stress then, and you can actually find some long-term ways to manage it if you can actually find what those stressors are. So, for example, think about something that frustrated you last enrollment season. The printer was always breaking down, or you might have a long commute to work or a long commute to those appointments. Really kind of take those into consideration and see how you can avoid it this year. And that really kind of goes into one of the next steps I'm going to talk about as far as planning. But that's something to really look at. Once you have those essentials down, you can really focus on where any of that stress might be coming from, and then just possibly look at some stuff to try and avoid that. Something that I even like to do is I like to keep a record of my successes. I have something that I used to call a gratitude journal. It's more of my personal kudos journal that I kind of keep, and I read it whenever I feel kind of down, or maybe like things aren't going well. I just open up a page and I say, I remember March 2nd. That day was an amazing day. I had a really good success that day. And even though you might not have a successful day every day, the successes are going to outweigh those failures, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to have a bad day. Just remember to keep pushing forward, keeping yourself healthy, and making sure that you stay positive focused. One of the other things on nurturing your basic health that I like to always kind of look into is make sure that you stand up often. Dan and I were actually just talking over the weekend. He had an agent that he was working with a couple of years back that actually was hospitalized due to the fact that they were sitting down too much, and what it can happen is that blood circulation gets cut off, the blood flow in the legs, it can start clotting, and then at worst comes to worse, it can even lead to embolisms. During my time in the military, this is something that the military harps on quite often as well too, because I don't know if there's any military veterans out there, but you get crammed into these really tight spaces and you're just sitting there not moving, just sitting there and sitting there for hours on end sometimes. And you can even be in an open environment like I'm in here with a huge office building, but you might not leave that desk for 8, 9, 10 hours. Make sure at the minimum, if anything, just stand up, lift up your arms, do some stretches. There's a lot of health exercises that you can do as far as just sitting at your desk with stretching your legs and your arms. So just make sure that you actually remember to stand up often, because it's really not only going to get the blood circulation flowing and get that the brain up and awake even more, but it's going to really help your overall health as well. Now, another way to really help everything is to make sure that you're working smarter. and not harder. And not that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be working hard, but if you utilize some of those options that are out there and some of those resources that you have, it's really going to help you have a smarter workday rather than a really hard, draining workday. If you spent some time preparing for AEP or OEP, you're reviewing all those rules, you're getting all those certifications done, you kind of had to go through a planned attack to make sure that all of those testings was done, those certifications were done on a kind of a defined schedule, right? So the same thing really applies during the OEP season. Try and see, if at all possible, of course, because it's just crazy sometimes, but if you can really look at maintaining at least a somewhat defined schedule, that's really going to help you work smarter and not harder. One of the easiest ways to really keep that defined schedule is to prepare a lot of things in advance. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, making sure that you have those things done in advance and as many things that you can do in in preparation for that meeting or in preparation for that specific, that group seminar that you might be holding. All of those preparations are really going to help you work smarter in the end. You know, you don't, but you kind of want to resist the urge to just work constantly by, just going and going and going and going at it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But making sure that you maintain that defined schedule will not only help everything kind of stay in a nice symbiotic circle, but it'll really make sure that you stay focused and on task and you're not just kind of bouncing all over the place. Even with things like preparing things, you can save a lot of time just by drafting emails in advance. I have a listing, and I'm sure just like everybody else, of 5 or 6, 7 different email templates, and you can even have standard written responses for client communications set up in advance. Like thank you notes to send after an appointment, and make sure as well you stock up on those supplies. Your enrollment kits, the printer ink, if you have a printer that was always bugging you last year, folders, pens, etc. Anything like that, all those little things that could possibly cause a breakdown. If you prepare in advance, that's going to be one less thing off your plate that you have to worry about, because you know that those backups are there and you know that you're already prepared. Something that Dan touched on last week, and I know it's not always available for everybody, but you could even look at hiring maybe even extra hands or utilizing some sort of a scheduling system. Within that scheduling system, that actually pushes into this third topic, which is utilizing that technology and making sure that you're familiarizing yourself with all the software, all those sites. Because again, you are your own worst enemy during this season. What you don't know is going to really come back to bite you and haunt you in the end if you're not really familiar with the way that the application process flows or the specific way that an individual carrier's site is flowing. So you always want to familiarize yourself with all that software, and even making sure that you are pointing your clients to that software and that technology as well too. Because if you can point them that direction and you can kind of give them the guidance, that's really going to ensure that the entire interaction between them and you, and especially going forward, is going to really be as smooth as possible. And the last thing to remember is to always make sure that you have fun. Occasionally take a time out, making sure that you're always smiling and laughing. Laughter and smiling and just having a 5-minute laugh, and just kind of joking around with your comrades, that's actually something that is going to even energize you. It's going to allow you to kind of get back to center, and just taking that time out is really going to allow you to release a lot of stress. I know that if I'm stressed and I'm around my family, or if there's a joke that's said and we end up laughing, just rolling on the floor, you always feel really good afterwards. And just even if it's looking at a joke of the day site, sometimes I just read little funny articles to kind of make me laugh, and that really just energizes me on top of everything. So if you take these 4 steps as far as having fun, making sure that you're eating right and staying healthy and utilizing those resources, and trying to just make sure that you're planning everything, it's really going to help you survive OEP, AEP, and even beyond. So it's always something to keep in the back of your mind that if you're having a bad day, just go out there and laugh and smile and just have a good time, because you deserve it. You guys are working hard. You are putting some amazing numbers up on the board, and you're making me really proud to be able to be part of this organization during this window. So with that said, if you have any questions for me, or if you have any questions for our training team or anything in that regards, in regards to today's Motivation Monday, or anything that you'd like to see, let us know. You can reach out to training@ahcpsales.com or even call agency services, our wonderful team upstairs at 877-228-8773. So remember, OEP, AEP, if you're not taking care of your customer, your competitor will. So get out there, have a wonderful, wonderful week, a nice stress-free week, and remember to smile and laugh. Take care, everybody. I will talk with you on the flip side. Cheers.